Yeah, I can't hear you, Willie. I got my volume up.
Because I can hear you.
I can hear you now.
Okay, well, I fixed it. Yay, me.
Yeah, there you go. There's a win on Monday morning.
I can go back to bed now. I won Monday.
There you go. You kicked Monday.
How have you been? Yes, I did. Early.
Yeah.
So how you been?
Good.
Awesome. All right.
You down in Florida? Is that right?
I'm in Tampa, Florida.
I was going to say we've got our first snow over the weekend, so thankfully you don't have to deal with that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. It is right now. My wife just went walking. It's about 37 degrees out.
Oh, really?
Which I'm telling you, here in Tampa, that's apocalyptic. It really is.
Right.
People laugh at us, but when it's below 40, it's a big deal. Everybody dresses like Nanook of the North.
Right.
Awful. I'm not used to it, and I live here because I don't like being cold. I was born in Newark, New Jersey, so I know a little bit about being cold. But what I know most is I don't like it. That's why I live here. All right. Listen, this morning, I want to get to your 10 points. But first, I want people to talk about. I want you to talk a little bit about what you do, because this is, for me, this is as important to get your information out as anything, about what you do and how you help folks, and then we'll get into the 10 tips for businesses to prepare for 2018. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll be editing this a little later this afternoon. Hopefully, that'll be my second win today. And I'll go undefeated.
There you go.
All right. This morning on the Will Austin Show here on TECN, we have Ken Wentworth of Wentworth Financials, who actually, I tell you what, you can collaborate now easier with folks than you could have ever collaborated before, ever. I met Ken on Instagram. Yes, Instagram. Now, if you think Instagram is just taking pictures of your food, well, yeah, you're right, it is. But it's not just taking pictures of your food and letting all your friends know that you had fries for dinner. But it is a way now that we can make connections, business connections, media connections, in a way that we could have never before. So we made contact with Ken Wentworth because I saw that he has a financial business and provides financial solutions for folks. So we hooked up and we decided that we would do this for people, add value, hopefully, to people's lives. And I could let people know what Ken does. And he joined me here, dark 30 here on the East Coast this morning. It's 37 degrees in Tampa, so you know I'm cold. Ken Wentworth, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Tell people about what you and your business does for folks.
Yeah, well, good morning, and first of all, thanks for having me on, Willie. I really appreciate it. So, with my future partner, what I do is I'm a for small businesses. So I help small businesses. What I like to say is I help small business owners sleep better at night. Uh, so help them with a whole lot of different things. I take a holistic approach, basically as a CFO, the Chief Financial Officer for those businesses, and oftentimes it's a small business that uh, may need someone with that financial expertise. Doesn't necessarily need someone on a full-time basis, but needs someone with that expertise, and so they can hire someone like myself, a resource like myself, to be to help them on a part-time basis, and depending on what the needs are, et cetera. And that's literally what I do. I help them on the financial side, but again, like I said, I take a holistic approach. So it's could be on some marketing things, it could be some HR, employee retention type things. But we really focus initially, at least, on the financial side of things and making sure that what's working, we accentuate that, and what's not working, we fix it up and make it work better. And so, again, at the end of the day, hopefully, what I'm able to do is help small business owners sleep better at night.
That is an amazing thing. What a niche you have created, because most of the small business owners that I talk to are so busy making widgets, donuts, cleaning clothes, that the part that they don't have time to do is the CFO part. They don't even think of themselves as CFOs, especially when it comes to marketing or HR, and not stepping in what was oftentimes a quagmire in HR that they don't understand can ruin them forever,
right,
if they don't get it right. And why people don't come in the door to buy their widgets or donuts is the marketing. Oops, and I just killed my mouth. I just killed. Monday tried to come back and get me, but you know what? I'm not even left-handed, but dang. So I won the second half of the second game. But the marketing piece, they a lot of times leave out because they're so busy making widgets and donuts or cleaning clothes or whatever. So it's fantastic that you can come in and offer that to them if you see that may be the piece that they really need help with. That is fantastic, because that really is something that we've been concentrating on here on the program, to get people to understand that even if you've got a one-man operation, if people don't know who you are or where you are, they can't come and shop. They can't help you. They'd want to, but they can't, because they don't know that you even exist. Because I tell people all the time, that's got to be the saddest thing. You've been in business for 6 or 7 years, and then you go to a dinner party, and people who you thought were your friends ask you, "So how long have you been in business?" What do you mean, how long have I been in business? So if your friends and family don't know, then you've got a bigger problem than that on the marketing piece. We talked earlier and talking about getting people ready for 2018. Obviously, there's been we've all heard that there's been some tax changes and the like, and this isn't going to be what to do necessarily to prepare for the Trump tax changes and all any of that stuff. This is sort of general. What can businesses do to prepare for next year? Everybody's in the last quarter. Everybody's figuring out taxes and getting plans for the next year if you plan on being in business. And sometimes we leave stuff out. So I got Ken here to give us. He posted 10 tips, hopefully to help folks prepare for 2018. We didn't, and we didn't put them in any particular order, but we're just going to go ahead and get through those 10 tips, and hopefully you can pull out what you need to help you prepare for 2018. Ken, what's one of the things that businesses need to do to prepare for 2018, which is coming in about 3 days? Yeah,
it certainly seems that way, doesn't it? It's coming up on us quick. Yeah, and so I actually want to. You hit on something earlier that is another one of my sort of almost like what I call catchphrase or whatever. But I like to try to help, or I don't like to try. I do help small business owners work on their business instead of always working in it. Like you said, you're so busy making widgets, et cetera, that you're so far into the weeds. So what I try to do is I help them sort of get their head above the weeds and think about things on a more macro level as sort of a strategic business partner. So you hit the nail on the head with that for sure. So yeah, I every year I put together a year-end checklist, which is a boring way to say it, but another way I've been telling people is it's year-end steps that business owners need to take to ensure that they're successful. So it helps you sort of wrap up 2017 in an effective way, as well as start you off on the right foot for 2018. So you start the year in a very positive way, in an upward trajectory, and make sure you're ready for success in 2018. So. The first thing is, of course, being a numbers nerd, chief financial officer type person that I am, is reviewing your financial statements. And I know that's like, those are like dirty words to most people. They don't like to hear that. And which again is where someone like myself can help. Is a lot of people say, well, gosh, I can look at these things, but I don't know what the heck they mean. I look at earnings. What are my profits? And that's all I care about. Well, there's a whole lot more to it than that. And they can tell you, your financial statements can tell you so many different things, and there are so many different signs within your financial statements. And what I mean is, your income statement, which of course most people know because that shows your net income, right? Your balance sheet, which I think most people just ignore, and they say, yeah, that's something I do that my accountant does for me, and I don't know what the heck it means, but it's very important. And then even almost equally as important is your statement of cash flows, which again, I know these are really, to most people, technical type terms, but they're very important. And one of the things I think is very important when you're looking at your financial statements is you need to compare versus the right periods. So, for example, your business might be cyclical. So maybe you're in a retail business, and maybe the fourth quarter. I know I worked with a jewelry store before. In the fourth quarter, their hot time for business is basically November to December, right? People are buying Christmas presents, and then in the spring, because people are buying engagement rings, as you can imagine. So their business is very cyclical. So in between those hot periods, that business is down, right? Revenue is down. So you don't want to compare against your hot quarter versus your last quarter, which may have been, sort of your downtime. You can say, oh my gosh, we're doing so great. When in reality, it might not be. What you need to compare against is your year ago quarter. So you're comparing against the cyclicality of your business. So for example, in that fourth quarter for a jewelry store, which is very lucrative, you compare that against the fourth quarter of last year. So you get an apples to apples comparison, make sure you're looking at things correctly. And then you want to make sure you're trending in the right direction, of course. So you do want to look at last quarter and make sure things are going right. But sometimes if your business is, like I mentioned, the jewelry store is very cyclical, it's difficult to do that. If you've got more of a steady business, I know you'd mentioned cleaning clothes, like a dry cleaning business. That's a little more steady, right? People need to clean their clothes 12 months out of the year. Well, hopefully they do. And so that's a little bit different, but
only in the summer, man. Only in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. But I think those are really important things. And hopefully you have in your business what they call KPIs, or key performance indicators, which is another thing. I know it's like boring numbers nerd talk type stuff, but you probably heard, if you're a business owner, at some point or another, you've heard someone reference KPIs, and people say, well, gosh, what the heck is a KPI? Again, it stands for key performance indicator. And it could vary depending on what your business is. You may be looking at, using the example you mentioned, if you have a dry cleaning business, you want to look at the number of customers you had, month over month, year over year, quarter over quarter, the average ticket sale of those people. So those are the types of things you want to measure, and you want to make sure that you're obviously not trending in a downward direction, you're trending upward. But those are related to your financial statements, but some of them could be operational in nature too. So it just depends on what your business is and the nature of that business. But those are very important. And it's sort of another piece of that which relates to your financial statements is your pricing or your costing. A lot of people like to use those terms interchangeably. They're actually different. But you want to make sure that your pricing. I had a client one time that, and I'll put it this way: I have never once worked with a company that we have not been able to make positive changes to their pricing model. And so everyone thinks they've got it right? Everyone says, like, oh, I don't need you to look at that. So I was working with a woman. She had a manufacturing company. And I said, well, I want to take a look at the pricing. And she said, I can't appreciate that, but we're good. We've got a really good model. I said, all right, well, I'll take a look at it on, kind of on the side anyway, just a little spot check. And so the next time I met with her, I said, well, what are your margins? What are you expecting to make on these projects you do? And she said, well, we want to make 20%. I said, okay, well, do you ever give discounts? And she said, yeah, sometimes I do. And that, if I've got, she said, I just landed a big client that they're giving me a small project to start, but it could be very lucrative down the road, right? If I do this one really well, they're going to give me more business. So I gave them a discount. I said, okay, well, that makes sense. What type of discount did you give? She said she gave a 10% discount. I said, well, what if I told you that your margin wasn't 20% like you think, that it's actually 3%? So you're only making 3%, which is terrible, right? No matter what your business is, you got to make more than that. And now you give a 10% discount. So literally you're paying that new client, that new customer, 7% for the privilege of doing business with them. You're losing money every time you do business with that company. And those are the types of things that if you don't dig into that and really have a good firm grip on it, you could be, again, with that client, let's say she continued down that path and got more and more business. She's just digging a deeper and deeper hole. She's losing money every day by doing business with this particular new customer. And she doesn't realize it. So all of a sudden her financials, her KPIs and everything are going to go in the tank. She's going to say, I don't get it. I'm bringing in more business. I've got this new great client. How the heck am I losing money? Or why is everything trending negatively? That's one of those things that she's so far in the weeds that she wasn't, taking a more macro view of things. And so then we had to go through, okay, now what do we do? So she just signed this client. She gave him this discount. So now what do we do, right? So how do you go back to him and say, oh, we kind of made a mistake. And so how do we, improve the pricing or whatnot? But, those are critical things. Like I said, that on the pricing piece, that I've never once worked with a company that's had it nailed down 100%. There's always room for improvement on the pricing side. And I think pricing seems to be one of the things. I think the reason that is because people set their pricing and then they just put it on a shelf and say, okay, we got it. And things change and evolve in your business, of course, right? As it grows or stagnates or whatever, part of the cycle you're in. So it's one of those things that I tell people, if not twice a year, at least annually, you should be looking at your pricing, because things, again, definitely change. And, it could be things, as you mentioned before, if there's a change in the tax code, that could impact your pricing, depending on, maybe it's costing you more to do business and you need to reflect that in your pricing. It could be if you have a piece of your business that's delivery, and let's say gas prices surge, that could be a piece that you need to implement into your pricing, or otherwise you miss out and you're bringing in more business, but it's costing you money. And it's actually being detrimental to your financials. And you don't understand why. Geez, I'm bringing in more business. Why am I not making more money? So those are some really important things on the financial side of things. Preparing for your taxes, as always, and so and again, I'm not a tax expert by any stretch, but if you're a small business owner in the U.S. and you have to do your estimated taxes, and so you need to make sure you're doing those and making sure you're making that estimated payment by January 15th. So getting that ready. One of the things that gets overlooked is I tell people in December, make an appointment in December with your accountant for January. And what happens is people wait until January, February, and then they have trouble getting in because, of course, accountants from the middle of January through, end of April are just absolutely swamped. And so it's more difficult to get in. I say in December, maybe even November, schedule your appointments for January already. The other thing it does, and I know it helps me, is it gives you a deadline as a business owner, right? Taxes, look, I'm a financial person and I don't like taxes. They're a big pain in my butt too, right? So I'm going to delay those things as much as I can, right? But if I have a deadline and I know I'm meeting with my accountant on January 20th or whatever the date is, I know I have to have all my stuff in order for taxes by January 20th. It gives me a deadline. I start to work on that. Whereas opposed if you wait and don't make your appointment and then you wait, and then you could end up missing the deadline and end up paying some penalties and all that good stuff, which you want to make sure you're not in that situation, of course. And the last thing I'll mention, and I'll be quiet for a second, but the last thing I'll mention is your accounts receivable. So depending on what type of business you have, working on those accounts receivable. And one of the things that it sounds really obvious when I say it out loud, and people say, "Well, gosh, Ken, no kidding, right?" But it's one of the things I've seen multiple times is when you're sorting through your accounts receivable, so money that people owe you that they have not paid you yet, start with the biggest balances first. Oftentimes what happens is people will sort it based on how old the debt is, right? Someone's owed me for 64 days, so they're at the top of the list. Well, if they owe you $100, where you have someone who's owed you for 35 days and they owe you 10,000, you can imagine where you're going to get a bigger bang for your buck, right? You want to focus on those high balances, especially as you get towards the end of the year, because you want to pull that money in and reflect that on this year's financial statements as best you can. So start with those big balances and start working those down, and realize that some of those businesses could be in a tough financial position. You just never know. And so being on top of that and getting yourself to the top of that list, I tell this to people all the time. And so unfortunately, a lot of the businesses that I come to me when they're in a bad spot. And so we get to the end of the month, and as an example, they might say, all right, Ken, I've got, I have $5,000 of bills to pay, and I only have $3,500. Well, at that point, you got to start prioritizing what you're going to pay. So what I say is, on the other side of that is, you want to make sure that your company is at the top of that priority list, right? That they're going to pay you first. And one of the ways to do that is not being heavy-handed and getting on the phone and screaming at somebody. It's just, if that company knows that you're on top of your accounts receivable and that you're going to be reminding them, and they know that you're on top of it, or maybe you have a late penalty and they know, holy heck, if I don't pay this darn thing, I'm going to get assessed a penalty, where this other bill I have over here, I won't get a penalty, so I'm just going to wait and not pay that one. Well, you want to make sure you're at obviously the one that gets paid. So a couple of simple things, but very, very important, obviously.
Yeah, it would seem to me that if you were keeping up on it and actually talking to the people who owe you money all along, and building a relationship, that you would probably have a better chance of receiving those funds, because at least you're building a relationship.
Right.
And if you're not, because if you just show up every 30, 60, 90 days, much easier to put off, because you're not building a relationship. And then if you build a relationship, then you can see if that business is in trouble or struggling, and then you may be able to, depending on where you are, say, hey, listen, I know you owe us $10,000, and I know you had a bad month, because we've talked about it all along. How about if you can you get me $5,500 this month, and then we can do something for the rest, because that way you can pull out that bigger chunk, as opposed to sending the hate letter to the guy who owes you $100.
Right.
Yeah, banging on that guy's door like you're Simon Legree. You must pay me. You must pay the rent. It seems like a crazy way, and to do that kind of business. You mentioned a whole bunch here, especially in reviewing the financial statement, because a lot of people, again, turn that over to the accountant, because, quite frankly, for the rest of us, Ken, it's witchcraft how that stuff works. It really is. Right. It's witchcraft. I don't know. I have a lot of numbers. I don't know what any of them mean. I haven't taken a check out of my business in 6 years, so these numbers mean nothing to me. But I think sitting down with someone like you and at least going over them, so they'll understand what they mean, is important. Especially KPI seems very important, and not just the number of people who are coming in the door. I've seen that a lot too. I've seen businesses that, especially in this area, that have been packed on a daily basis. I mean, restaurants especially packed. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly they just disappear. And because I've got some restaurant experience, I said, because usually it's bad management and food costs. No one's watched out for food costs. Yes, right. They're slamming on. You get big, huge helpings, and that place is slack, and the prices are cheap. But because they've not gotten that balance to where they can actually make any money, they actually pay me for eating there. It's crazy, and then they go out of business. And right. And we see that all the time.
Yeah,
it's too bad.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, not to cut you off. So I had a particular situation here in Central Ohio where it was a guy had opened a pizza shop, and just a local place, in the same sort of scenario you just mentioned. He's got a line out the door. I mean, the place was wildly popular. Well, his situation was he expanded too quickly. So, and not to make fun of the situation, but I think he thought he was going to be Little Caesars or something. So he opened the original location, things were going so well. 45 days into that location, he opened another one in another neighboring town around here. And then while that one wasn't even up yet, he opened another one. So he expanded too quickly. And it became more so an issue of, and I see this a lot of times too, is it was a people situation. His business was great. People loved his pizza, but he didn't have the right people to run those locations. They were geographically dispersed enough. I mean, he can't be at all three at the same time, right? And he didn't have enough good people, frankly, to run the other two locations. And so they had gotten into a bad situation. And literally, he called me, as I mentioned. Sometimes I get these calls, and he called me and he said, he said, I heard a friend told me about you, and he said, I need some help. And I said, okay, well, how can I help you? He said, I don't think I can make payroll in 8 days. And I said, well, I wish you had called me a couple months ago, but, and literally it was 4 o'clock on a Friday. I said, do you have time tonight? Let's sit down tonight and figure this out, because you got 8 days. We got to figure something out like tonight. This can't wait for Monday. Like, we need to figure this out right now, what we're going to do and how to handle that. But no, you're exactly right, Willie. Especially restaurants, they get something going, they get something good, but if you don't keep an eye on it, especially as you mentioned with restaurants, food costs is so important. It goes back to that pricing that I mentioned. And if you don't keep an eye on that, you could be bringing more people in, but to your point, it could be costing you money. And so you see these places again that are wildly popular, and then all of a sudden you come by a couple of weeks later and you see there's a for lease sign in the window, and you say, what the heck happened there? How are they not successful? It just doesn't make sense.
Yep, that seems to be how a lot of businesses go, because that they miss that piece. They miss that piece right there, the pricing piece. And again, the difference between pricing and cost, which are not the same thing. Even the saxophone player, understands that. Because of my, because we play professionally. I know the price I charge, but the price we charge is different from what it costs me to get there and do the gig and prepare beforehand. So we learned a long time ago, those things are very different. And if it costs me more to get there, if I got to rent a tux to play at a gig that I only make $35 and it costs me $50 to rent the tux, that's a negative situation. That doesn't work for me.
Right.
No, it's fun to play, but it's quite not fun to give somebody $25 just to play. It really isn't. I'm too old for that.
Yeah.
All right. So what's another big tip other than reviewing your financial statements?
Yeah. So I essentially this checklist, I've broken down between sort of financial tasks, operational tasks, some HR things, and strategic. So the next thing I'll move into is some operational things. So, cool. And again, these are some of those things that, if you're in the weeds, you can easily forget. Review your insurance policies. So again, and this is an annual type of thing. You don't have to do this every month or anything like that, but you need to consider new coverages for changes in your business. As your business grown, do you have different things, different product lines? Do you need additional coverage for different things you have going on? Basically, you need to make sure that you don't have any uninsured risk is the critical piece there. Review and update your technology. So are there ways, do you get to the end of the year and to limit your tax liability? Maybe you're in a good situation where you've had a very profitable year. And in that case, you may be wanting to make some investments in your business, right? So you've got some extra money. You can take use some of that to invest in your business, use some expense, reduce your tax liability. So maybe you need to update some computers. Maybe there's a new software package that you can get that can make, increase efficiencies, things like that. Back up all your critical data. That's an important thing to do. No matter what you use, whether you've got an external hard drive that you've got in a Fort Knox safe somewhere, or if you're using the cloud or whatever you do, make sure you back up your critical data. You can't overlook that. And this is one for sure that people forget about. Check your website. So that's another one of those things. If you have a website that's just sort of an information repository, I'll call it. So you're not taking payments on it, things like that. It's one of those things that a lot of people, when they create the website and they go, man, this looks awesome, looks great. And that's it. They forget about it. Well, things happen, right? Things happen. And so, for example, depending on your business, you may have a new location. Did you put that location on your website? You may have closed the location. Is that closed location? You know how bad that looks when someone goes out and finds you and they say, oh, well, heck, they got a location right down the street, and they go and they find that it's closed. And they go, what is wrong with this business? Or you could have bad links, things like that. Nothing turns someone off more than that. I mean, as you know, the yellow pages, white pages, back in the day, how we used to look things up, right? No one uses those anymore. I know mine, when we still get one here every year, right? And I know mine goes right from the driveway into the recycle pile. Unfortunately, it's just, we don't use it. You know, it's not needed. So much more efficient to go and jump on Google and find a place. But you got to make sure that website's is locked down and looking good. So, and it has no, yeah, exactly. Things are so convenient nowadays, right? You don't need that. Yeah. That is your yellow pages, as well as a myriad of so many other things. So you got to make sure that stuff is good. And along those lines, make sure your website, pull it up on your phone. Don't just pull it up on your desktop. Make sure it looks good on mobile, because that 75% of people that find you on the web find you with their phone, not on their desktop. So if your website looks great on a desktop, but it just does not function well on a phone, that's going to be detrimental to your business. It's not going to work at all. So you got to make sure that's locked down and tight.
That's exactly right. And I think a lot, again, because people are in the weeds, that's, you know, they start the business and they get somebody to help them with the website, and it's up and it's beautiful, and they never think about it again. And I've seen that happen so often. And then they don't even participate in some of the trends. Maybe back in 2006, it was okay to have a website that you clicked on and then music came on automatically and video. But you know what? I hate more than anything when I click on a website and it starts talking to me and making noise. It's one of those things that's trend centric on the internet that I absolutely despise anymore. I'm searching for the button to shut it up. I don't need that. But so you've got to go. So you've got to look at those kind of things. And a lot of business owners go, "Well, I've got a website," because you know, when they started, when people started getting websites, they were sold as, if you had a website, you were in. Life was good. That's all you needed. It was great. And I tell people all the time, it's like having a sign in front of your business. It is. But you know what? Everybody else has a sign too. Everybody else has a sign. But that sign is changing, and it's changing because of these things right here. Most people in the world actually are accessing your business or your website on one of these, and it's got to look good on one of these. And if you built your website in 2006, I can guarantee it looks like crap on my phone. Right. And it looks like your nephew who's 14 put it together, and that's going to turn me off from one that looks good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You hit that, and because that seeps into the marketing side of the operational side seeps into the marketing side. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of small businesses, because you're too busy making widgets and cleaning clothes and the like, to actually review, because they don't have the expertise, and they think it's very expensive. And frankly, it's not nearly as expensive as it was when you first did it. Not nearly.
Right.
Because a lot of things you can do yourself, or people just can't charge as much as they did before. They just can't, because it's too easy to do. So you're right. At least on a yearly basis, if not every 6 months or so, you check out, go to your own website, see what it looks like, see if you like it.
Right. Well, it's funny you mentioned. It's a perfect example you mentioned is the music popping up, right? So literally, and I was just talking with a friend of mine. It's funny. She is in the process of starting a business, so I'm helping her and trying to guide her through that process. And I said, well, what's a good email address for you? I didn't know if she had a new email address with the business or anything like that. She started laughing. She goes, well, I've been told I need to get a new one. Her email address was a Hotmail email address, which speaks of the time, right? Just like, yeah, exactly. Just like, but I think that's very akin to what you mentioned with the website is that music popping up is so 2006. You know, it's back then that was cool, right? When you pull up a website and music started or a video started playing, you're like, man, this is really neat. But now that's the same thing. You see someone who has a Hotmail address, you're like, how old is this? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, do not if you got a Prodigy email address or a Hotmail address or an AOL address, don't let anybody know you have that.
Right.
Keep those for your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't put those on your, please don't put a Hotmail address on your business card. Just don't. Let alone on your website that plays a video every time I come there.
Right. Right.
You're absolutely right. So we've got some financial parts, we've got some operational parts. Do you have an HR piece to this?
Yeah. So HR. So again, it's one of those things that, especially in a small business, I know a lot of people don't like to deal with it, but it's important because one of the issues that I see that's almost in every single business is employee retention is such a difficult thing because it's so tough to find good people. And so when you find them, you want to keep them. And what I find a lot of times is people are just penny wise and pound foolish. They don't want to pay someone. And I literally had this happen 6 weeks ago with one of my clients. He had someone that I've been working with them for about 6 months now. And he has someone who's essentially his right-hand man. And he came to him and said, hey, I think I deserve a raise, blah, blah, blah. And so the owner came to me and said, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to pay him. And the amount of money the guy wanted was not outrageous. And so the owner goes on this rant to me for almost 10 minutes about how it was ridiculous. And he knows times are tough. I can't believe he would try to ask me for money and blah, blah, blah. And so when he got done with this almost 10-minute rant, I looked at him and I said, and I'll make up a name and say his name was Bob, but I said, what would you do if Bob walked in here tomorrow and said, I quit, I'm out? And he said, well, I honestly don't know what I would do. I said, give him the raise. Are you kidding me? I mean, seriously, if he's outside of your business and you don't want to give him, I mean, if the guy was asking for a fairly minimal amount of money, I said, your business would be crippled if and I explained to him because so this guy, his right-hand person, essentially runs the business. He's like a COO, Chief Operating Officer. The owner is primarily the salesperson and does almost all the sales for the company. So I said, imagine if Bob left. Guess who becomes a COO? You do. Now, okay, well, you can do that. You know how to run the company, right? Who's going to sell? Who's going to do sales? So now you don't have any sales. Where's the revenue coming from? Now what do you do? And how are you going to find another Bob, right? So that domino effect is critical, right? So the HR piece is very important. Look, and I came from the corporate world, so I worked for JP Morgan Chase for 20 plus years. And so some of these things are ingrained in me from that, but it is important. People deserve to get a performance review once a year, right? And not just a check the box performance review. People need good, solid feedback. And some of that's constructive, right? I know myself, I want constructive feedback. Excuse me. Most people know what they're good at, right? I know what I'm good at. And I'm not mean that sounds self-centered or arrogant or anything, but I don't need you to pat me on the back and say, Ken, man, you're really good with numbers. Like, well, I know that, but what am I not good at? What do I need to work on, right? And so I think people need to hear that feedback because that's part of their development. That shows them you care. You're not just saying, oh, great, keep doing what you're doing, right? There's ways to improve. So you want to give that performance feedback. Check out your payroll details. Depending if you have a big enough company where you've got people, make sure your payroll details, everything's good. So when you release your W-2s, your 1099s, all that stuff is rock solid. It's a lot easier to fix one of those problems in December than it is in January when you release a W-2 and someone says, yeah, this isn't my tax district. And you go, oh, crap. Big problem then. And in the midst of everything else you got going on, you don't have to deal with that. One of the things that I am a huge proponent of, and anyone who has employees, to administer an annual anonymous employee survey. And it has to be anonymous. Don't hand someone and say, go ahead and fill that out, because you're not going to get honesty, right? You're standing there watching them. They're going to tell you, I love working here. It's great. And then 2 weeks later, they're going to quit, right? You got and do whatever you need to do to make it anonymous. Make it an online thing. Make it so they can, circle things, fill it out, and slide it under a door. I mean, whatever you need to do to make it anonymous. But you got to get that feedback and ask them the tough questions. What don't you like about working here? And don't get defensive about the feedback. Take it as fuel to say, How can I make it better? Because when you make it better to work there, you're going to get more employee loyalty, which is just, you're going to get people there longer, which means you can continue to build on things. That is critically important. So make sure you do that. That can help you shape new programs you offer for employees, cross-training. Someone might say, man, I'd really love to learn what Susie does. Well, I had no idea. And it'd be great to have a backup for Susie. So you can learn things like that. And so it's very important. And then the other thing I'm a really big proponent of is some type of employee recognition. One of the things I like to promote with the businesses is profit sharing. And I know typically when I say that to a business owner, they say, oh, I can't afford it. I can't. And the point is, it's profit sharing. So if there are no profits, there's nothing to share. Okay. So if you make a lot of money, and you could say, we're gonna give 5% of our profits back to the employees, right? You're keeping 95. So don't be a Scrooge about it, right? Or whatever the right percentage is. But here's what you do when you do things like that. People understand that now they begin, you want your employees thinking like owners. And that promotes that type of thinking because they start to think about, I'll give you an example. I was working with a medical practice, and we uncovered a situation where we had a lot of referrals. It was a specialist medical facility practice. And so they get referrals from primary care physicians. Well, as you can imagine, if you go to your primary care physician for a problem where you need to see a specialist, you trust your primary care physician is going to send you to a reputable, good doctor, right? So you're going to go. So those referrals that they get from primary care physicians are like gold. I mean, it's almost automatic because you're going to go to wherever your primary care physician sends you because you trust them, right? Well, we had a stack of them on the desk, almost 20 of them. Some of them were a month old. Well, now I'll go back to if I got a problem with my ankle and I go to my primary care physician and he or she says, you're going to have to go see a podiatrist and I'm going to send you to a good one. I'm going to send you to Dr. Jones. 2 or 3 days go by. If you haven't heard from Dr. Jones's office, you get frustrated, right? And let's say you give it a week, but in the meantime, your ankle, you're still suffering. You want to get this thing taken care of. Well, now you call back your primary care physician and you go, hey, you got someone else because these bozos haven't called me back. Guess what? You just lost the business from that primary care physician forever because now you made him or her look bad because you didn't follow up on the referral. So those types of things. But so my example is, and going back to my example was getting people to think, employees to think like owners. So I was trying to figure out how the heck do we have almost 20 of these darn things sitting on a desk that no one had followed up with someone who were almost a month old. And the woman who was the office manager in that particular office said, well, we just don't have time, Ken. And they don't want us to pay us overtime, blah, blah, blah. Well, in a situation like that, if that person knows that they're part of the profit sharing plan, guess what? She clocks out and she goes, oh my gosh, I forgot to call these 2 referrals. All of a sudden, she takes 7 minutes out of her day, off the clock maybe even, and makes those 2 phone calls to those 2 referrals. Now, and she does it off the clock, maybe because she knows that's good for the business. She doesn't say, well, I'm off the clock, got to go, sorry. She thinks more like an owner because she cares more and she wants to contribute more to the profits of the business. And the other thing that profit sharing does is, think about it. And in this particular instance with a medical practice, they had a huge issue with employee turnover. And so I told them, you need to be, and this sounds a little bit funky, but you need to be a little bit better than everyone else, your competitors. And one of the ways you do that, how many medical offices offer profit sharing for their office workers? Almost none. So if you do, and you're part of the 80 or the 20% that do, people are going to flock to you because they know you care about your employees. It says a lot that you're willing to share some of those profits. You're sharing in the goods, right? The employees are the ones that are helping you make those profits. I mean, they're critical to the process, obviously. So that's one of those things. So I say all that to say employee recognition at year end from an HR perspective, very important. To plan what you're going to do. Consider some sort of holiday party, year end celebration, celebrate your successes. Be creative. Not everyone, it's not always about money for people. And I think most of the time people think that it's all about money, and it's not. Of course, people like money in their bank account, of course, but they also like recognition. There could be things like you can grant someone comp time. You can say, hey, you know what, for the month of December, I know it's tough to get all these things in. You got family obligations. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give each of you guys 4 hours off on 2 Fridays. So you can go get some Christmas shopping done if you need to, or you can help plan for you've got family coming in, all that kind of stuff. That goes a long way, a long way. People say, oh my gosh, you get it. You understand. I'm under a lot of stress right now because I've got family obligations and everything I'm trying to get done. That 4 free hours, what does it help, cost your company? Not much. But what you get from that, from the employees, and they see that you care is huge, right? Think about it. If your boss came to you, if you had a corporate job and your boss said, you know what, on a Tuesday, and said, you know what, go ahead and take off at noon on Friday. I know you got a lot of stuff going on right now. We'll pay you for the rest of the day. Just go ahead and take the rest of the day off. Get your stuff done, whatever. That is huge. People love that, and people will remember that type of thing. Verbal recognition, handwritten notes. It doesn't always have to be about money with people. And lastly, and very important is, again, I mentioned just a minute ago, alluded to a little bit, but celebrate successes. Don't just dwell on the negative. I know a lot of people that are, very goal driven. I'm very goal driven myself, very ambitious, but celebrate the successes. At some point, you have to take a step back and say, gosh, guys, look what we did this year. And no, did we get everything exactly right? Not exactly, no. But here are the 8 things. My gosh, look at this. This is where we were last year, and look where we are now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't forget to say thank you to people. I mean, that even in and of itself. When I went around in that medical practice and talked with employees, I was trying to get my finger on the pulse of what was causing all this employee turnover and the morale was low. That was one of the things, independent of each other, that people said. No one ever says thank you around here. I mean, so people value that, even just to say thank you. I know it sounds obvious and whatever, but people like that. Just to know you're appreciated and your efforts are appreciated. It's important.
Wow, you know what, you mentioned a whole bunch of things, and through my head were experiences in companies that I've worked for, situations that I've been in, and almost all of them apply. I work for some people at one point who had an employee meeting. You're not going to believe this, but one of the owners, the husband, said, and I think he was trying to be complimentary. And this was early on in the business, said, you know what, we appreciate everybody, but unfortunately, this is a private company, and we're not going to share in the profits. He said that to a group of employees. And this business, ever since, it's amazing, it's still open. Well, it's open because they're shooting fish in a barrel, so it's easy. My cat could run it, so it's not that hard to run. But they've had managerial turnover for the past 13 years. Every 6 months, it's crazy. And you're right. Sometimes it's okay. And I've worked corporate gigs, and I can mention it because they're gone now. I work in radio. I work as a salesperson in Radio Shack, and every store is really manager run. And I work for a guy who, it would be busy, and he couldn't really offer you much money because it was a corporate thing. But he made sure that he said, you know what, we worked hard today, guys. Let's go down to the restaurant in the mall, and I'll buy you a beer.
Right.
And that meant so much to us that he knew that the guys worked hard, and we all knew that if we worked hard, he had a bigger bonus. We were working on commission, so he worked hard for us too. But right. He would recognize that, and as long as he was manager, I think I worked for him for like 5 years. There was the same 4 guys who worked that store for 5 years in retail. That's unheard of.
That is unheard of.
Because everybody wanted to work for Tony Alfonso because he was great to work for, and we would knock down walls for him. All he had to do was call me and say, Willie, I need you to go to blah, blah, blah. I got you, man. I got you. And all he would do was occasionally he'd buy us a beer. He'd always say thank you. He always appreciative. And if you made a sale that was a good sale, he made sure that he was appreciative. And it doesn't take much.
Right.
But Ken, how do you get business owners to understand that the average person off the street is not going to have the same passion for what they're doing as they are? And is it just because they're not going to be able to get the same benefit as the owner?
Well, and I'll tell you, it's one of those things right along those lines. And so again, another experience with a different company, but and this is for any small business owners out here listening to this. This was a huge one. So this company did not have profit sharing. They did not give bonuses out at the end of the year, and these people were working their butts off. And the owner went and stayed in a private village in Italy on a vacation during the year for 2 weeks. The owner is driving an exotic sports car into work every day. And so guess what? That's great, right? It's the owner is the one running the place and has the idea and is making the place go, right? No doubt, right? So they should obviously profit from that. However, the subtle message that sends to employees is that I'm taking these extravagant vacations. I'm driving this $200,000 car, but you can't give me a $500 bonus. Are you kidding me right now? I mean, that's what those people said to me. And I told him, I said, look, you need to keep some of your private life private, because these people, knowing that you have the money to do those types of things, you're creating a bad situation for yourself, because they see it as basically you're driving them like a slave driver and you're reaping all the benefits and you're not sharing in any of those benefits. And if you think about it, it's just human nature. I mean, how frustrating would that be to someone who, and employees had asked for it, had asked for some sort of profit sharing or bonuses, and he said, no, we can't afford it. But yet here he is driving a $200,000 car and going on extravagant vacations. And so people said, people started to get very apathetic and said, I mean, I had one guy tell me in particular, he's like, I'm not busting my butt around here anymore. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Right? They don't appreciate it. This guy's just making money hand over fist, but he's not, sharing any of that with us. So it sends a very negative message, obviously, in a situation like that. And if you've got the money to drive a $200,000 sports car and go on vacations like that, by golly, you can share some of that with your employees that are the ones that are making you that money, that are really driving the ship.
And I'm not into this whole socialist thing, but it seems to make good sense. It just seems to make good sense to make sure that you keep the people who have that have helped you, put you in this lifestyle happy. Why? So you can stay there. So you can continue that lifestyle, and to cut them off at the knees and then to have to retrain and do all that stuff seems awfully short-sighted.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Ken. Well, you know what? It's about time for us to get up out of here. Thank you ever so much. Before we go, though, please tell the viewers and the listeners where your business is, how they can get a hold of you. I know that you're in Central Ohio. I'm not quite sure what that means. Does that mean like Cincinnati, or does that mean like Orville? Because I've been to Orville. Have you really? Okay. Yeah, Orville's the home of Smucker's jams and jellies. I've been there.
Ah, okay. There you go. No, I'm based in Columbus, Ohio. Okay. So, but I work with clients all over the place. I've got clients outside of Central Ohio. I've got some here in Central Ohio. So my website is wentworthfinancialpartners.com. If there's something, that you think I might be able to help you with, the other thing I try to do, Willie, is I try to be a solution guy. And it's funny, I tell my kids it started with family, right? So I tell my kids, you got problems, I got solutions, right? You might not want to do what it takes to enact my solution, but nonetheless, I'll have a solution for you. I try to be that way for my clients. So even if it's something that's not in my wheelhouse, I want to be able to have someone I can send them to. So I'm fortunate enough to build a really good network as well. So for example, I might have a client that says, I need to have an intellectual property attorney. Do you know someone? And I do, right? I know someone who's really good at that. And so that's just an example, but I try to do that. And it's funny, I'll go to networking events and things like that here and are in and around Columbus. And so my brand, I guess, that I've built is, so I have a radio show. And so people started calling me Mr. Biz because I was answering questions about all sorts of different things in the business world. So people started calling me Mr. Biz. Well, the radio station just took off with it. So they started running radio spots with Mr. Biz and things like that. So now I was just at an event last week. I'm pretty sure that most people don't know my name. people just come up to me and say, "Hey, Mr. Biz, Mr. Biz," and they know me enough to recognize my face. But I'm pretty sure some of the people I met last week, they call me Mr. Biz, have no idea that my name is Ken Wentworth, and that's okay. I guess that means that the Mr. Biz brand is alive and well, which is good. But yeah, go out to the website. You can reach me by phone, 614-962-7CFO. Or like I said, you can go out to the website. You can reach me through the website on there. Again, wentworthfinancialpartners.com. But yeah, what gets me out of bed in the morning, what I'm passionate about is helping people. And I want to help people with what I'm good at, and not to be arrogant, but I know I have a gift for this. I have a talent for this. Some of that's with all my background I had working at a place like JP Morgan Chase with a lot of different experience, education wise and master's degree and all that good stuff. But that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. I had real quick, I had a client that told me about 6 or 8 weeks ago, he wanted to meet with me in person. And long story short, he told me he wanted to tell me in person that I helped save his marriage because his business was floundering. He got a hold of me, hired me. We turned the business around. And what he didn't tell me before was that his wife was putting pressure on him and saying, "Hey, this isn't working. You got to go get a job. Like, that's great. You wanted to have a business, but it's not working. We have 3 kids. We got bills to pay. This isn't working. You got to go get a job." And so now we turned the business around. The business is doing well. They were going to marriage counseling because he kept telling her, "No, I can make this work." And he said, and literally it's a small construction company. And this guy's old school construction, right? And here we are sitting in the Panera Bread, and he leans over to me and he gets uncomfortably close to my face. And he said, "I want to kiss you right now." And I said, "Whoa, that is not part of the deal. That is not part of the deal." And that's when he told me, he said, "You not only saved my business, but you saved my marriage." And I got to tell you, Willie, I walked out, I practically floated out of that Panera Bread. I mean, and it was on a Friday afternoon. I was so happy, so excited. I got home. I could not wait to tell my wife. I mean, you can't measure things like that. I mean, I'll cherish that forever. I mean, it's just that kind of stuff. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's what gets me going, man. I love helping people. And again, with being able to help someone with what you're good at, all the better, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's an awesome story, Ken. I appreciate you sharing that with me this morning. Again, that's on wentworthfinancialpartners.com. And that number again, which I didn't get to write down except for the 7 CFO part.
Good. That's catchy, right?
It is.
Yeah, 614-962.
614-962.
Yeah, 7
CFO. Yep. All right. And listen, Ken, again, thanks for spending some time this morning. And I hope that we were able to, as things go on, collaborate again. It was great fun. I appreciate it. And hope to see you again real soon. Good luck today. Win the rest of Monday. Crush it, as they say. And we'll talk again very soon. Thank you again.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks for having me on, Will. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. All right. That was Ken Wentworth. Ken Wentworth of wentworthfinancialpartners.com. The number again is 614-962-7CFO. All right, we got to get up. We got to get up out of here because we got to start the broadcast. We got to start the Will Lawson Show here on TECN, powered by enetlive.tv. All right, so we'll be back with more of this kind of stuff here on the broadcast. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.